Submit. Oh, yeah, I got this before too. Try going back into Squid and exporting it again to your device. Something in that process, sometimes it doesn't actually do it. I get that error message too. Do you ever get that one, guys, where it says can't upload a PDF that's 0 bytes? Something happens where maybe I bet you were faster than your Chromebook, Sam, and it couldn't keep up, and so it just downloaded nothing. Students do that sometimes too, right? All right, guys, we got 5 minutes here. Let's talk a little bit about ecology, okay? We'll just read through the anchors. These will be some easy points here for us, okay? So KB-15 here, ecology snapshot. First thing we'll say is that the first thing the Keystone says is describe the ecological levels of organization in the biosphere. Organisms, populations, communities, ecosystems, biomes, and biosphere. Just a bunch of words, but let's make sure we understand how they relate to each other. Remember, organisms make up populations. So if we're talking about just one bison, right, that's an organism. But if we talk about all of the bison, like the herd, that's a population. Populations make up communities, right? So now we're talking about bison, but we're also talking about the birds in the ecosystem. And so when we talk about two different kinds of species in the same place, that's community. Communities make up ecosystems. And so when we talk about an ecosystem, we're not just talking about the birds and the bison, but we're also talking about the mountains. We're talking about what?
Cameron Payola Sally, please report to the assistant principal's office at the bell.
Okay, we'll send him. I bet it's voice lessons for Friday. Okay. The ecosystem then makes up the biosphere, because remember, the biosphere is the whole planet where life can be found. Okay? Remember, when we talk about, and you'll notice we don't really need to, that's not ecology, so we can cross out the bottom 3 there. When we talk about ecology, right, we talk about abiotic and biotic factors. Remember, abiotic are not living things that affect the place. So abiotic is not living, biotic is living, right? So not living and living. So the air quality, the water, the amount of precipitation that a place gets, the amount of sunlight it gets, all of those are abiotic. And then other organisms in the ecosystem. So if there's a predator, like we talked about that hawk that was eating the mice, that's a biotic factor. If there's competition for limited resources, that's biotic as well. Okay, number 2, describe the characteristic biotic and abiotic components of aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. We just talked about that. Let's just draw a little arrow. See above, okay? Number 3, describe how matter recycles. Remember, this is the biogeochemical cycle, right? So basically the idea is that atoms recycle. Let's just do a little diagram here. We'll keep it simple. Atoms recycle, right? They go from one place in the ecosystem to another, and then they can return back to where they came from. Okay, number 4, communities. Describe how ecosystems respond to natural and human disturbances. I'll let you read this later, but climate change, non-native species, pollution, and fires are all things that can happen in an ecosystem, and humans have a role in each of those things. They can cause those things, but ecosystems are affected but can bounce back. Number 5, describe how energy flows, food chains, food webs, and energy pyramids, right? So here's a food chain. Over here, this is an energy pyramid. Energy pyramid. Remember, a pyramid shows the relative size of the populations in a food chain. And so we can jot down this piece here is smallest, therefore it's going to represent the smallest population, and this one down here is biggest. So it's going to be the biggest population. Okay, number 6, describe biotic interactions. What are things that organisms can do to each other? They can compete for the same resources. They can predate which means that they can kill and consume other organisms, right? And they can also have symbiotic relationships. And we talked about 3: parasites, mutualism, and commensalism. Remember, in all of those relationships, one organism benefits and the other is either harmed, helped, or not affected. And then the last one, describe the effects of limiting factors on population dynamics and potential species extinction. Remember, limiting factors, they limit population growth. This is the exponential model. This is the logistical model. Remember, when we look at these graphs, the slope represents the growth rate. So let's jot that down. Slope equals growth rate. The steeper the slope, the faster the growth rate occurs. Okay? All right, let's submit this